All right, so moving on to the final segment. I'll be sharing my Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski fight prediction. So, oh my gosh, I can't tell you guys how happy I am that we are getting this fight in the UFC this weekend between Islam Makhachev and Alexander Volkanovski. Because if you guys follow the podcast, and especially the combat series, I have said several times that I would love to see an Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski rematch. The fight was huge in the beginning of the year of 2023, and that five championship round fight between the two respective fighters made me want to see a rematch very soon. Now, did I think I was going to get it by the end of the year? No, I did not. But am I a happy guy? Yes, I am. Am I a happy combat sports fan? Yes, I am. And I got my wish of this rematch happening very, very soon. And we're going to get it this weekend in the UFC. So, the unfortunate situation of this is we were supposed to get a rematch between Islam Makhachev and Charles Oliveira. Unfortunately, Charles Oliveira got hurt training in his training camp getting ready for this rematch that he was going to have against Islam Makhachev for the lightweight championship. Unfortunately, he had an eyebrow injury, a gashing eyebrow injury that he sustained, and he was unmedically cleared to participate in UFC 294. So I wish Charles Oliveira a speedy recovery. I wish him nothing but the best. And I hope we get this that rematch down the line as well between Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira for the lightweight championship or without the lightweight championship on the line. I would like to see those two respective fighters eventually meet each other again in the octagon in an intriguing rematch down the line. But now we get the rematch that I've been wanting. And shout out to Alexander Volkanovski for saving the entire UFC 294 card and taking this fight on a 12-day notice and cutting weight to get in shape on a 12-day notice to compete once again for the lightweight championship, for Islam Makhachev's lightweight championship. An intriguing rematch that we're going to see in the UFC this weekend. So my tale of the tape for this weekend's fight, we have Islam Makhachev, who is 24-1. He is 24-1. He is the reigning defending lightweight champion in the UFC. He has 4 victories coming way of knockout. He has 11 submission victories. You have Alexander Volkanovski, who is 26-2. Right now, he is the reigning defending featherweight champion in the UFC. He has 13 victories coming way of knockout. He has 3 submission victories. Woo! Their resumes just speak volumes to me. I'm getting a little fired up, getting ready for this fight. But keys to victory if these respective fighters want to walk away from UFC 294 with that lightweight championship. Islam Makhachev, I think his game plan should be keeping Alexander Volkanovski grounded. And I do believe that this is going to speak volumes for the game plan for all 5 championship rounds for this fight. And I do believe Islam Makhachev is a great grappler. He's one of the greatest grapplers that the UFC has to offer today. And he's also a great submission fighter. I do believe that right now Islam Makhachev and Charles Oliveira are the greatest submission fighters right now in the UFC. So give him credit, give Islam Makhachev where credit is due. He's a great grappler and a great submission fighter. And I do believe the game plan should be to keep Alexander Volkanovski grounded and shoot for submissions. He has to do that. And why I say that is Alexander Volkanovski is coming into this fight on a 12-day notice. He's not getting a full 6 to 8 week camp like Islam Makhachev is. Alexander Volkanovski could get gassed very early in this fight. He's not going to be in the shape that he was in the first fight when the two respective fighters fought the first time around in the beginning part of 2023. So keeping somebody grounded on the ground, grappling them, shooting for submissions, already trying to catch your breath on the ground, I think that's a great strategy for Islam Makhachev for this fight this weekend. For a guy that Alexander Volkanovski, he is going to be in shape, yes, but he's not going to be in that shape that he was in having a 6 to 8 week camp. He did not have that, and he's having less than 2 weeks to be in the best shape of his life. So that could be a key factor for this fight, especially if Islam Makhachev is going to win this fight by submission. That could be key. But keys for Alexander Volkanovski to win this fight: I think he's going to have to go back to his bread and butter and using his striking abilities. He stunned Islam Makhachev in the first fight several times with some significant striking shots. And obviously, you guys out there watching and listening, following the UFC and following the MMA, Alexander Volkanovski is a great all-around, well-oiled machine, one of the greatest all-around fighters in the sport. And I think his bread and butter is striking. And like I said, he's caught Islam Makhachev slipping in that first fight. And I do believe that, now that I think about it, in the first round of that fight, Islam Makhachev got caught and stunned by a strike by Alexander Volkanovski, which put Alexander on his knee, or put Islam Makhachev on his knee after being stunned and striked in the first round of that fight. But how I see this thing playing out Saturday is going to be a great fight, yes. And I do believe that both fighters will have the same game plans that they had in the first fight, because both fighters, in my opinion, did a tremendous job. Obviously, the decision went to Islam Makhachev, but you could go back and see what you did wrong. But I do believe that both fighters will come in with the same game plan that they had in the first fight, because there's no right or wrong answers for what both respective fighters did. But the question mark in this fight is Alexander Volkanovski. What is he going to look like on a 12-day notice, fighting one of the best in the UFC on a 12-day notice? Is he going to have the gas tank to go the distance if needed for all 5 championship rounds? Of course, you guys do the math on it. 5 times 5 is 25 minutes. That's 5 championship rounds of the UFC, and that's going to be grueling. That is going to be hard for somebody to do that has not had a full 6 to 8 week camp. But, man, with everything I just talked about, this is hard. This is a toss-up. This could go either way, and I'm going to be surprised of the outcome. But I am going with Alexander Volkanovski to win this fight by KO or TKO this weekend in the UFC at UFC 294. Alexander Volkanovski has been hungry. He's been seeking retribution to get that victory over Islam Makhachev. He's looking to right his wrong this weekend against Islam Makhachev, and he's looking to gain another championship to his resume, have that featherweight championship, have a buddy, and that he wants to take Islam Makhachev's lightweight championship this weekend. And I believe the key factor is the longer the fight goes, the more it favors Islam Makhachev. But Alexander Volkanovski knows that, and he knows that his striking abilities is going to be his bread and butter to win this fight, because he had a very short camp. So I do believe that Alexander Volkanovski will be very aggressive in this fight in the earlier rounds and be very aggressive striking. And I do believe he will set a lot of traps for Islam Makhachev to fall into his traps, leading to a big strike that could potentially lead to a knockout or a technical knockout. And bet on Alexander Volkanovski on Sharps. Bet that on Sharps Sports Betting Network. Bet that Alexander Volkanovski, the underdog, pulls off the big victory. You can put the money line on him, and you can bet that Alexander Volkanovski wins this fight by KO or technical knockout. But that is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. This is your host, Thomas Tyree, signing off, and I'll see you guys on next week's episode.